Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience, where we explore journeys from the ordinary to the extraordinary. We go through trauma to healing, and shame and pain to radical self-love, and everything along the way. Today, I have another very special guest, and that is Nate Brown Jr., who is, among other things, host of Fox Sports Radio Rochester. And where we begin and where we end is not quite the same. This episode has a lot in it. So please, if you can, watch the whole thing because Nate is speaking about things that cross time, culture, class, race, religion, and so many things in between that show his life from being born in the 50s at home through decades of having to defend his mother's honor on the playground and being a Boy Scout, and his integration and experiences with law enforcement and all different kinds of industry, and of course, sports. Nate talks deeply about the family history from his parents and his grandparents' experiences and their lessons all the way down to his grandchildren. His family values, especially the wisdom of spirituality and community, are the cornerstone of his identity, and they drive him to teach younger generations today. Nate is also heavily involved in activism, especially involved in educating the Black and Brown communities about specifically Alzheimer's disease, which is a near and dear situation to his heart. He serves as a chairperson for engagement in the Alzheimer's Association of Rochester, and he emphasizes the importance of understanding and addressing health disparities within these communities. Nate's life has been inspired by dealing with personal losses and challenges and losing his mother to dementia, and dealing with racism and classism and all of those things in between, not only in the media, but within his own family and community. But rather than becoming bitter, he has chosen and found a way to channel his experiences and his pain into community leadership, advocacy, and education for all. He's approachable, kind, and warm, and still believes in the power of humanity and human connection, and is an incredible leader and example for the younger generations today. Hello there.
Hello.
And hi, welcome Nate Brown Jr. to the Natanya Experience. I'm really excited to chat with you today. And Nate Brown Jr. is the host of What's Going On Fox Sports Radio Rochester and community activist. And we're really excited to chat today in advance of our launch of our chatting on your show.
Yes.
Wanted to bring you on to talk about yourself and how you got to today and some of the things you're working on, because you have a really, really powerful story that I think can inspire others. And that's really the point of this show. And just wanted to thank you for joining me this early Saturday morning.
Well, thanks for having me. And I really, really appreciate it. It's kind of cool when I get to do a crossover on someone else's show, which I think is really, really neat. And I appreciate that. But thanks for having me in this space. And, talking about some of the things that I've done, and that I'm still trying to do in this stage of my life. I call it the fourth quarter of life.
The fourth quarter.
As a sports metaphor. So it's like I'm in the fourth quarter. And, I could get to overtime. You never know. But I'm just rocking and rolling here and now.
Yeah, I'm sure your family, your kids especially, are hoping for the overtime.
Well, that's what you always. My mom passed away last year at 88, and my dad did the 58 thing. So it was really interesting when you go back in time and you look at when your parents kind of crossed over, and you see, okay, obviously you're gonna go that way, but where are you in the lineage? So you just try to keep it moving as best you can, take care of yourself, do the best you can, and keep your spirit up. Mentally, I think it's important. The mentals of life that could get folks down. So I try to, stay around people like my man Ryan, folks like you, the young folks, so I can absorb your energy. The picture of Dorian Gray. I love films as well because I made a couple of those. So if you know about that film, the guy picture stays young. Old, but he gets young. So it's like me being around you young folks and just like getting some.
I love that analogy.
Energy.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna borrow that, but I'll give you credit.
No, so you gotta be the picture of Dorian Gray and get that energy, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm aging backwards, that I got my head on right, and then you just feel alive, and it's sort of like a youthful exuberance that comes through, I think, and other people pick up on it. I think when we first connected too, that energy between us was so, exciting, because we're both trying to channel all the energy that our cells can muster up, right? And push it out
Yeah.
in the world. And it makes you feel like your back's a little straighter, your steps a little lighter. Obviously time is experienced by us against gravity, against
I
ourselves.
mean,
We're
that's
we're
science. That's
counted
science.
around the
I mean,
sun how many times it's
you
been
can't
around.
you can't beat science, and that's science. But in that whole process, when you could look at when you could actually have real time in your generation. So I watch my daughters who
Yeah.
are your age. One is your age, one is a little younger. I watch my grandchildren. So I'm in like real time mode. Okay.
Yeah.
Watching these people do their thing that is part of my seed, part of my mother's seed, part of my father, part of my ancestry. I'm watching out, live out, and I could see it. So I don't think people really understand how fortunate they are if they could see a couple of three generations and be a part of that, and still instill in that generation. My granddaughter's going to be in the 8th grade, right? So I told her the other day, she's so sweet. I love her. And we have a saying, because she's a female. And I said, Munchie, keep your head on a swivel. Okay, I know, Papa. I know. That means, check out your whole surroundings. I don't care what you are, where you are. Make sure you understand what's up in front of you and back of you and inside of you. Okay, and on the side of you. And she always said, Papa, you always tell me that. And my daughter says, yeah, he told all of this, keep her head on a swivel. My dad taught me that, because as a black man growing up in the South in the 1950s, more than your head had to be on a swivel. So you have to understand these things that are passed on from generation to generation to hopefully have your children, your grandchildren survive this world that we're in, that sometimes could be kind of cruel.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to still shine and radiate such positivity and love that you do, from all that you've experienced personally and interpersonally, with in your family, with your friend set, and just, in the world. Can we go back in time a little bit and start,
Back to the future.
not the beginning, back to the future, Nate Brown Jr., OG, like little Nate Brown Jr. Like, talk us through a little bit about your life and
Well,
some of the things that brought you to today.
well, I grew up in, like I said, a family of 8. I'm the oldest, which is kind of neat. So you're in the Southern family. I was born in the South, in Charleston, South Carolina. So I was born in a house. So my grandmother delivered me with another lady. So back in the day, once again, how you come into this world kind of defines you a little bit. So here you are. Here I am in 1955, born in that situation. My dad just got out of the military because he was in the Korean War. And then a couple, 3 years later, I guess 58, 59, we moved to New York City. But we moved to Harlem, the Great Migration. My story is a part of that. So black folks moved all from down south to all parts of Detroit, Chicago. Then some went to California, but my folks migrated to New York City because they had people in New York City. So we moved to
Right.
Harlem first, and I remember we lived in 116th Street in Spanish Harlem. Then from there, my dad got a job as a superintendent, and we moved to the Bronx because it had some more room. And my mom
Right.
started popping out babies. Like, it was like no tomorrow. I'm like, damn, because I remember growing up fighting. Had to have the 2-piece on, because it's like every other year my mom had a kid. And it was like, oh, your mom's pregnant again, your dad's a rabbit. What? So, okay, my knuckle game was sick, because I had to do what I had to do. I had to defend my mom's honor. And I knew at a
Honor.
young age, okay, that it was going to be on and popping. So I went to a pretty cool school. Matter of fact, the cool thing about my mom is that she was a community activist. Okay, so her and my dad ran the police athletic league. My mom worked for a nonprofit called the League of Organization of Bronx Organization Renewal, which is labor. So she did
Mm.
that. My dad did that. He also had these all kind of different jobs, and different in addition to being a number runner. Okay, so okay, so before Lotto, there were numbers. Need people to understand that. So they took that job again from the black person because it was in their community. But that's a different story. So here you go. So here my dad, he's doing this thing. My mom, she's doing a thing, and they're raising kids. And I
Yeah.
had a
Which
chance.
is no small thing.
Well, no, I
8
mean,
kids.
it's no, because you're raising, like I said, 5 boys, 3 girls. Okay, and my dad was a no nonsense dude. Like
Right.
I, s-
You don't you don't play.
I don't know how many people seen their father kick somebody's behind, but I've seen that on a couple of cases. Like, yo, so if you seen that in your father, I think you need to leave that guy alone because he got some trauma going on. And at that time, I didn't know that. You don't know what your
Right.
parents are going through.
Right.
Okay, but my
You don't see them as people. You don't
nah,
see them as
you,
people because
you
you're
really
the
don't. You
kid
just see
and
them as entities who control your life.
yeah.
Okay, but I was fortunate to live with my grandmother. So one of my grandmothers lived with me, which is my mom's mother. Now my mom grew up kind of affluent in the South, believe it or not, because her father was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was half white. He had a funeral business. So he was a mortician. So they had paper. Mom went to private school, the whole nine. I remember when my mom told me once to myself, I don't know why I married your dad. He was poor then. I don't know why I married him. I guess because he just looked good. It's like, I said, Mom, that was kind of like cold. So I wanted some chocolate babies. I said, Mom, she would just say random stuff. You know how your mother, your parents are. Just say, I mean, like, Mom, are you? But anyway, growing up in that environment, in the Boy Scouts, my mom put us in the Boy Scouts. Who's in the hood in the Boy Scouts? But you know, you're doing something. You're in the Sea Cadets, wherever it was not to get in trouble. Play
Yeah.
sports.
And that's why you can run around in Maine and not worry about it except for not hitting a moose. But other than
But
that,
that's what I'm
right?
saying.
Boy Scouts helped you.
My mom
We were
put
talking
us
about
in
that.
everything to keep us out of getting in trouble.
In trouble.
And then on
Yeah.
top of that, she put me and my brothers into all boys high school. Like mom,
To focus on school.
focus on school. So I mean, that part of my life was really, really interesting because not only that, I learned, I met a lot of people. For example, a guy who lived on my block was a police officer. Because I was never scared of the police. I grew up with the police. So why am I scared of the cops? Even now to the day, I talk to him like, dude, you're a regular guy like me. So why you just have a uniform? Why are you tripping? So Mr. Henry
Right.
Allen was a police officer. But his father was a trumpeter with Louis Armstrong, the great Louis Armstrong.
Oh
So
wow.
his dad would come around the block. We didn't know this. We just got a trumpet playing the horn. We like, oh. So that's how it was growing up. We met Nancy Wilson, the great Nancy Wilson jazz musician, because her boyfriend lived on our block. So matter of fact, I was introduced to Medea before Medea. No, seriously, we had a transgender dude on our block. This is really interesting. Transvestite. From Monday through Friday, he was a man. He was a man. From Friday night to Sunday, he dressed up like a woman, and nobody bothered him.
What year? What year?
This
What
is like
genre is this?
this is like
For people to
1966, 67,
yeah, in the late
68.
60s. Yeah. So that's really important. I just wanted to give people an anchor for like how you were part of sort of the beginning of cultural shifts in our country
That's what I'm
and you
saying.
came through that. Yeah, that's why I just wanted
14,
to kind of
I'm
restate that.
14. I see this guy dressed as a guy, suit, briefcase. Next thing I know, Saturday, my mother goes, mind your business, Bubba. Hey,
Yeah.
Harriet. The whole block. Hey, Harriet. Everybody on the block. Nobody bothered that individual. It was such an eye-opening thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
that you can that sort of the rules about who you are and what you have to be across, sorry, but what do we say? Race, gender, all of that gets it's kind of mixed up, but the community supported that. And so the person could be whoever they wanted to be in that time. And that's at that time in the 60s is pretty amazing, especially in, certain communities where certain things about what is a man is
That's what I'm
very
saying. In the
important.
black community, this is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain to you.
Well, I was trying to kind
No,
of go into
you don't
that.
gotta sugarcoat it because I'm a black man. In the black community, to have that
Yeah,
individual feel
that's what I'm saying.
comfortable enough to be who he was or who they were at
Yep.
that time, and
Right.
nobody kind of messed with him. They just like let that person be. Okay, he was
And that's
he was,
that's an incredible story. We don't hear enough of
but he was
those.
respectful to the community, and he
Yes.
didn't force himself on nobody. Because now I think what happens, oh, I'm LGBTQ. You got no. you who you are. I got you. But when you get in a person's face and they're not, with anything we do, I understand rights. We have them. You're supposed to have them. But my mom always says how you get what you want at the end of the day and how you go about doing it. Because like I said, nobody bothered him. He didn't bother us. We kept it moving. We respect him. He had his rights as a human being. He was dignified the way he did his thing or their thing. And that
Right.
always stayed with me, even now as an older person, because you go through spirit what I call this periods of homophobia and all that kind of stuff. As a black man, you go through, damn, what's that guy problem? So you go through all that questioning. And that's something that So you don't know what his experiences were, so you don't know any of those backstories that take a person on
Right.
their journey.
Yeah. So, we have a few seconds before we have to take a little break, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you got involved in some of your community activism when we come back, and a little bit about what you're doing today, if we can, because you're a kaleidoscope of many things, and that is really incredible. And you're still so vibrant, and like you said, we're dancing every day we get up is a good day,
What?
and
Listen, I don't care what comes after me getting up. I'll handle it.
yeah, well, that's kind of inspiring for a lot of people
Just
to have
handle
that
it. Just
mind.
handle it. It's you gonna have. Listen, you can't have good times without some bad times. You gotta go back and say, oh man, remember when I had no daggone money? Remember when so and so and so? Well, look at me now. Look where I've come from. The journey is always part of wherever you're going. People always forget the journey, but to me, that's the greatest part of the story.
And you appreciate that, right? The destination, because you had to work for it, because you had to go through it, because you had to stumble, that makes it all part of it.
And the people you meet along the journey. Like Ryan. Ryan is my dude. I just love his energy.
That's our producer, we should be
Exactly.
clear.
We connected and the thing is, the person that connected us hasn't ever met Ryan in person. Me and Ryan been hanging out because we've been like, it's just how life is. He was like, Nick, this
Yep.
is young man you got to meet named Ryan. He was like, Ryan, this old head you got to meet named Nate. We just like, bam. And that is how life cycle works. When there's a spirit and there's a connection
Yeah,
with human.
and an openness. You have to be open to it, right? A lot of people, well, we're gonna have to break in a moment, but a lot of people, I think, in this day are quite guarded and not as much wanting to talk to strangers or new people. Like, you can literally select things to get someone to pick you up in a Uber or Lyft or what have you, and select, I don't want to talk to you. Um, so we can come back to that, but that's an interesting phenomenon, in terms of the way we move through this world and meet strangers or possibilities and new doors open or not. And I think you're a really example of the opposite of having silent rides, right? Like, let's talk to everyone we can. And I'm that way too, which is why I think we connect so well. But yeah, so we're gonna have to take a little break, and I'll let the magician behind the scenes, Ryan, take care of that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing today and what you're into.
Thank you. Be right back. Huh?
Hi, welcome back to the Natanya Experience with my special guest today, Nate Brown Jr., host of What's Going On Fox Sports Radio Rochester. And we were talking a little bit about history, evolution, culture, shift, racial, gender, geopolitical stuff. And we're going to shift a little bit. And Nate's going to talk a little bit about some of the things he's doing in terms of his activism in the communities that he's really showing up in a lot of different ways. And then we'll take you on a ride someplace else, but I'll leave that to the next to the next segment.
Hey, but thanks for having me once again, Natalia. I really appreciate this opportunity just to kind of go back and revisit some of the things I've been through and some of the things that I'm on at my course right now. And one of the things that are very dear to me is because, like I said, my mom passed last year. She was 88 years old. She had dementia. And so I'm involved heavily with the Alzheimer's Association here in Rochester, New York. And I am I guess, the chairperson for community engagement, getting the community engaged in this disease. A lot of times, Black folks, brown folks, don't understand that Alzheimer's affects us just as much as it affects anybody else, and how the disease is so debilitating and it has a domino effect on the family. So
Yes.
if you're the single caregiver, or even sometimes you might have multiple people in your family, but only three people do stuff. So you can't get mad at any of those things. You have to just look at the person that you're dealing with, that's your parent or your loved one, and give them the best care that's possible. So for me to try to help get a cure for this, as you know, I work in the sports arena with athletes and see that kind of debilitating disease when football players take that hit, and if they've been playing a long time, what happens to them, and even in the area of mental health, I know you're very familiar with that. So Alzheimer's is something that's very, very close to me that I deal with. My brother works closely with sickle cell anemia because he has the trait along with his wife. Two of his daughters
Oh,
have the disease. So that's one of the things that we're also passionate about as a family, trying to look at that aspect of helping eradicate that as well. And just also helping, my mother would say, get in where you fit in. Okay, so for me, if there are things that I see that there's a need to be involved in and to get the message out, because I really see myself as like a town crier. So,
yeah, I was just thinking that. That was the image in my mind.
like
Absolutely.
it's like I'm
And
like the dude with the candle.
I hear ye. Nate Brown Jr. is coming to talk to
Oh,
you about right. No, but in a way that comes off, with so much love for your fellow human, so much genuine care and concern, and it's like warming, like even if you're angry about something, your passion is so pure. And I think that's why so many people, love to be around you and listen to you. And I think why you're so instrumental in getting that, because I, beyond talking to you, obviously I did some homework too. And no, but I mean, I
you're
think
funny.
that's
I love
come
it.
through. No, but that's important. I mean that that with respect and admiration, and so that you don't have to just lay down and take it, but you can stand up in a way that brings people together, even if you're arguing for something. And I think that's a beautiful, rare thing, and it's a very powerful thing. And I think you have strong opinions on certain things, and that's okay. And I think that's your really great model for showing that, but you can be kind and respectful, but also powerful. And Alzheimer's and dementia, whether it be through natural things or, like you said, through head injuries
Yep.
or sports or other things that different communities just weren't given access to in the consideration set. I mean, there's a lot of health disparities among, in minority communities. And so I love that you're standing up and taking such a big role and being such a force for all communities to pay
Well,
attention
yeah.
to, but also to help. And so I just want to thank you on behalf of, just a regular Jane human here. Like,
Oh,
it's
no
really great
problem.
what you're doing, because a lot of people, once they get settled in their life, literally just settle down, and you're sort of still rising up every single day that you get up. And that's really, really
Well, well,
powerful
well,
for a lot.
well, at some things, you have no choice in life. Actually, you do, because that kind of leads me to what I was going to talk to you about. Okay, so one of my
Yeah.
philosophical things, because I love films, and I've
The Matrix. Let's enter the Matrix, Nate, right?
but no,
That's
but
where
I
we're
guess
going.
I've made two films. I don't know if you did the research or saw that I did. I've made two films. So one film I made was called Black Seminole Negro Indians. Okay, that was really cool. We actually won an award for that in Berlin, Pan African Festival. Another film I made was called King's Faith, about a young brother, a young man who gets out of prison and does his thing. So we did that. So I love films, and I love what films could do in terms of telling stories. Also, films are somewhat of an indicator and a predictor of what we're going through in life. So as that
Yeah, art mirrors life,
Art Mirror's
right?
life. So one of the things and I love The Matrix because, and it's written by a woman because this is International Women's Month. People don't know that this is Women's Month. It's March. The ladies are the mom, and I need them to say it because I got two daughters, a granddaughter. Women are like, yo, you rule. Trust me. And the thing is, you don't even know it. That's the sad part about it.
Yeah, but you're definitely a champion
Some of
for
y'all, like I said,
women.
I'm here to tell you, listen, without yins, that ain't nothing going down. And nothing. Life, nada. Nothing.
And women, and women or those who identify as female, what have you, like you were talking about before, like we need each other,
Come on.
right? So we need each other. We can say we're fit in different boxes, age, race, gender, what have
Mm-mm.
you. But the thing that you're a bridge, you're a connector of worlds. And, I just want to say, I thank you for that. And so many people's lives that you've changed, that you've just shown how we can be transcend all those labels and be together. And it's really, really, really awesome. And a lot of that, though, comes up to what you were saying before the break about what are the choices we make in terms of what is reality and how we move through this reality. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. And we did make that allegory to the
Well,
Matrix.
no,
And
because
but
I mean, the red pill and the blue pill are popular
yeah,
cultural symbols, so we understand they're representing the choice between embracing the sometimes painful truth of reality. See, when you wake up and use your third eye, okay, I'm getting a little deep. You see things
I love
the way that okay, this ain't right. Now I have a choice to continue in that this ain't rightness, or I say, you know what? How do I interrupt this to the best way of my ability? Okay, because knowing these forces that are around me that sometimes might not want this to happen, but I know from my spiritual self that's not right. So what do I do to counteract that? So if you look at the choices you have and you look at because of your journey that dictates your choices, right? How I got on the radio is a perfect example of that.
yeah, share
I mean,
that.
because it's part of the choice thing. Okay, so I'm doing the radio thing at one station in Rochester. They let me go. It was no problem because they got another person. I'm not even hating. As a matter of fact, that other person says, oh, well, I would see him. He's passing out like Nate. Thank you for getting me that job. I'm sorry, but that's not your fault. Things happen. I'm glad that there's another brother on. I don't even care. It ain't about me. It's about the space that you create to give somebody else a spot. I'm cool with that.
Amazing.
So I'm doing my thing because, like I'm not thinking I'm gonna be on the radio again. I'm not even thinking about that. So one day I'm riding to work, and this is talk show host in Rochester. His name is Bob Lonsberry. You probably heard him. He's all over the country, as a matter of fact. He's like, I want to say, what's the guy on Fox Sports? Tucker Carlson. You see my Fox. He's like Tucker Carlson, but another kind of guy. So he's that guy, right? So he makes the statement that the mayor of Rochester at the time was a black man, was a monkey. So you got to make a decision in your life. Do you do the first response was the South Bronx response? Somebody should go down there and kick his ass. Like, like
That's fair.
that's
I
like the
mean, come
first
on. That's
the
fair.
first response is the South Bronx let's boogie response. I still got my two-piece pack. Let's do this.
Right.
But
You did all that defending from your childhood about your mom. You're
so
ready.
I'm ready. So I'm like, nah, you can't move like that. It's a different time. You can't do that. How do you engage somebody to say, yo, this is wrong and make an amends? So me and two partners of mine, one guy named is Kevin Allen. We no longer do the show together. Another guy was Joe Brown. He's passed away, no relations. We go to Clear Channel at the time. The guy name was Jeff. He was a really nice dude. I said, Jeff, now listen, man, you don't got no black people up here in Clear Channel. You got this guy talking racist stuff. But Nate, he's not even on the air no more. But I did what you did, Natalia. I did research. I said, yeah, he's not on the air in Rochester, but he's on the air in Utah. Come on, dude, stop. And then through my journey with the other radio station, I learned about Community Reinvestment Act. So that's when you got to have some people in the community to do what they do. So the guy goes, well, we don't have a show. I said, well, I got a show for you. So he let us have a show. That was 20 something years ago. I had no idea, Natalia, that I would be on the radio, that I would be doing what I'm doing now for so many shows, talking to so many people, engaging with some of the most incredible individuals on the planet. Started with David K. Johnson, who wrote 3 or 4 books on Donald Trump, from Bob Costas, to Jeremy. I mean, they're folks that I forget that I even interviewed them because it's been that
Yeah, right.
I've been
20
that
years is a quite a lifetime and quite a span. That's essentially, you've created a whole culture of dialogue. Um, and from that time,
From
and
that
from
time.
that time that, that's, you're being light about it, but obviously there's a lot of pain when someone uses such hate against
Well,
your people, your kind, your essence. And, it's really, really difficult
but
to
as my
take the
mother
path.
said, you turn a negative into a positive. See, this is what I'm trying to explain to people.
That's all. I mean, that is the choice that's
That's
hard to
the
see
choice of the
sometimes
red and
when
the
you're
blue
in it.
pill. I could have mulled in my feelings, went away, did nothing, just mad at white people. Because now I'm in the all white people ain't sugar honey iced tea mode because you're talking about black folks. But no, that's the choice I see. That was not an option that I had. I had an option to educate ignorant folks on some
Right.
of their
Which is
viewpoints and
incredible.
challenge them on those viewpoints by giving them other avenues of academia, because academia discourse is good. It's cool. I'm okay with debating you on a topic because I'm gonna come full
Right.
fledged with all my stuff. So when you come at me, you better come
You have
ready.
the receipts, right? Is that what they say? You come with the
You
receipts.
better come ready because I'm gonna come with everything that like I said, research. I have one of my professors was the cellmate of Nelson Mandela in
Oh, wow.
Brockport, Dr. Michael DNA from Ghana. He was the Secretary of State. I'm sorry, he was the Secretary of State for Ghana for Kwame Nkrumah. My bad, I misspoke. Secretary of State for Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first president of Ghana when it was liberated in 1956. Matter of fact, March 5th of this month was when they were liberated.
But connecting with all that power, you know, and using it to help bring people who, I guess I'll just say, are ignorant, right? Like, to find a way to enlighten, that's forever changing the course of history. And that's pretty amazing. And that's what you're doing. I think of those historic photos. I mean, it's painful, but I'll say, I'll start with I guess, moderate one of from the Vietnam War, where there was all the soldier guns and the hippies were putting the flower in the
Yep.
gun. You know what I'm saying? Or the picture at, I think it was the January, insurrection thing, where they showed the Native American man, sort of standing there while people are screaming in his face. Or, the famous photos of, in the South with the KKK and having, a man of color, like walking up and just sort of calmly being there
James
to start to have
Meredith trying to
a
go to school, Ruby Bridges, and then all we trying to do is go to school.
Ruby Bridges. I mean,
No
we
time.
have, that's a really, even today, we have a book with that actually, sort of, it's a fictionalized version for kids. It's a picture book, but it's still rough, and show her in jail, show this little girl, the bravest, the littlest marcher. And, it's really today something that, I've been showing the children. And, we brought a lot of these books to our kids' schools, and they're really trying to process it. And we talk about, there's injustice. There's still injustice even in 2024,
Mhm.
and how every one of us has a responsibility
There you
to
go.
be there for everyone else.
That's
And that's why we're together here. And what I'm doing, right, is like, I'm like, well, that's my job, right? Then that's my job. And I still have things to learn. And I'm always trying to be, learning and cognizant of my role and what that means. But it's, people like you that start inspiring people like me to do what we do. So I want to thank you, because, I'm so glad that you made some time today um, to talk about all these things, and also what inspires you and motivates you, because you've changed so many lives for the better, and you're continuing to do so, and to help heal families and communities. And it's incredible.
I think
Thank
I
you,
think
Nate.
one of the
I
things
mean,
I'm most proud of, and all things I've done as an educator, because I have a bachelor's degree in science and I've taught
yes.
all over the place. Even at a private school. Matter of fact, it's on TV right now on Hula. If you get a chance to check it out, it's called Piney Woods. Right, Piney Woods is the second black oldest prep school in the country. They're outside Jackson, Mississippi. And back in the day, Dr. Lawrence C. Jones, whose granddaughter is the president of TV One and Radio One, okay, Kathy Hughes. Okay, so here's this spiritual connection. So I'm down here in Piney Woods working with all these kids from all over the world,
Right.
Mexico, Ghana, Mississippi, Chicago, and having that interaction with those young people. and having see those young minds, and it's like having clay.
Yeah.
You help mold in clay. So for me, taking kids on college tours, engaging with their parents, that will always be everlasting. And I think the more you do, the more the more you get. People don't understand what that
Yeah.
means, but that means you get to do this.
Right. Right.
So
And feel
one
like
it
you,
reaches.
and I think that's another thing with so many, and we'll end with this, because we talk about this on the sports side about, whether we call it mental health or whole person health or whatever you want to call it, but things that erode that, things that attack that sense of positive and lead to things like addiction or gambling and crime, whatever you want to call it, right? Like circumstantial things come from when you don't feel a sense of like true purpose and connection with others, right? That's what every book on how to manage all of these things, forget about the chemicals or the medications or the treatments, right? It's all, so much starts with, do you have a sense of community? Even the blue zones, those
Yep.
programs that are now on, right? And they talk about the diet. Should it have meat? Should it be vegan? Should it have this? And but one of the things is the diets are mostly, okay, it's whole foods, but then it's all varied. And what's the same across these different geographic regions is everyone there has a sense of purpose and community and connection. So the older folks are cooking together and they're a part of the community still. And all the different people are together. And that's what you teach people, is to find that connection and purpose for then essentially paying it forward to others. And that
Yeah.
is, incredible. And there's not really a good way for me to summarize it, but thank you for my crude attempt letting me trying to do that.
No,
And in 15 minutes, it's really tough to put all of you in a small segment, but
I'm gonna try to
I know
write a
we're kind
book.
of,
I'm gonna try. I don't. I've been trying to write a book for I don't know how long, but just ain't coming.
well, we'll talk about that offline after, right? Because I think that is very important, and your story is so inspiring, and you're so humble about it, but it's so real. And I'm just so glad. I hope that whoever hears this, outside of all the places that you're speaking, that we can just amplify that to motivate someone else.
Yeah.
Like, let's pass the torch to
Yeah,
other
that's what it's
people,
all about.
because right, like all the things you're talking about don't cost any money. They cost from here.
Because as my teacher once said, I was saying this earlier. Each one teaches one and reaches one.
Yes, beautiful.
That's it.
Simple, but exactly
Very
that.
simple.
So as we have to close out, but is there anything, any sort of thing you want to say as you're
I
like,
just want to say thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it. I
oh,
want to say thank you for having me, Ryan. Good hookup as always. I appreciate it. And if there's anything that I could do in my space and my time to help you further what you're doing, we're there. We're
thank
there.
you so much. It was awesome to have you. Thank you for sharing so much. And obviously I'll be talking with you again soon, but I just love this. You're the best.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I love
God,
that we were able to do this
yeah, well,
today.
God bless, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye. At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.